You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Lou Need Lewis, and today it's a joyous day. Before we jump right into it, let me ask you, are you over 40 and tired of dressing like a grandma? Are you fed up that the clothes that are available for you are baggy or plain old boring? You are not alone. Let me share with you my new favorite women's fashion boutique, Celeb 40. Celeb 40 is changing the way women over 40 are showing up in their lives. They're showing up in style. They have classy, chic, and trendy clothing for modern and the mature woman. The founder at Celeb 40 has found a way to deliver high quality, elevated style, get this, at a great price. Check out Celeb 40 for the best selection of their limited edition floral lantern dress or their chic burgundy pantsuit. Y'all, they even have plus sizes. Who knew looking good could feel so good? My friends, go to www.celeb40.com for their latest release. Let's bring sexy back, y'all. I'll see you in there. All right, morning enthusiasts, let's get back to the show with Connie Bobo and talk about how nonprofit organizations can secure long-term funding. I have been helping a lot of my friends take their business ideas and turn them into purposeful businesses. If you have a business idea and you want to get a business plan together, get a lean canvas together, or you simply want to know how to get a presence online or social media presence, I am your girl. I now provide that service. But the businesses that I have been helping, the topic that comes up is funding. How do we fund our venture? How do we fund our business? How do we get money? Let's find out. It's an honor. It's a privilege to introduce my next guest, Connie Bobo. She is the CEO of Mind Your Mission, where she helps nonprofit organizations increase their sustainability and helps them secure long-term funding. How good is that? Like every nonprofit organization needs help with that. So I'm really thrilled to have her on the show today. She has helped dozens of churches and nonprofits increase their capacity, secure funding, and drive impact within their community. So with no further ado, Connie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. So glad to be here.
It's an honor to have you. Thank you for making the time. So before we dive right into all the money making and what impact these organizations are having in their community, I want to know a little bit about yourself. So give us a little synapse of your background and your journey thus far.
So actually, I kind of backed into this. I come from a family who loves children. Yeah. So growing up, my mom couldn't work. She had 3 children and no one wanted to babysit. So for her, she actually started like an in-home daycare and she was the babysitter for everyone else.
Yeah.
And as we grew up, we just kind of took on that same passion and love for working with children and things like that. So from there, I started working in early childhood education and just really mastered the industry and went into the nonprofit portion of it and just fell in love with nonprofits. And then began to see and realize how different it was to work in a nonprofit that was in an urban community as opposed to somewhere else, and those that are led by minorities.
Yeah.
And just seeing how we tend to struggle with securing funding, becoming relevant, and actually having a presence in the community. A lot of times we're the best kept secret. Mm-hmm. And it's because we don't know how to get out there and get in front of people. So, from there, I just started working with different organizations and churches. And really helping them to build themselves up and be more relevant in the community, how to secure funding. Everybody wants to know, how do I get these grants? I hear it's tons and tons of money out there. So, helping them get the grants, but also helping them to understand that grants typically make up about 10 to 20% of your budget. So you do not want to rely on that as a sustainability plan and showing them how to put together a real funding plan and diversify their revenue streams. So
yeah,
I've been doing it for 20 years and I just It's my greatest joy is helping other people find their purpose and really live out their vision. That's when I feel like the most complete and have done my job.
Yeah, 20 years. That is quite a bit of time. And it sounds like you started with the education piece of it, right? Because you're in early education. Why that route? Because you said your mom, right? Your mom was the babysitting, so she kind of sowed the seed into the early education portion of it. And then I'm curious to nonprofit. Why nonprofits are so dear to your heart?
Because that's really where we drive impact. And it's not saying that a for-profit does not care about the community, because Mind Your Mission is a for-profit, and we are all about serving the community and figuring out how to strengthen that community. But nonprofits are unique in that most of them think that they're not even supposed to charge fees. So nonprofits are out here doing things for free and trying to figure out, how do I keep going? How do I make this work so that we can continue to be a blessing to the people that we need to reach? Especially, there are some programs where, if you're dealing with reentry or substance abuse, the people can't afford to pay. Mm-hmm. So how do you get that money in a situation like that? So that's really what drives me, is making sure that, we have the impact in the community. Because I could say that I love serving children and that is my mission, but you really cannot reach the child until you've reached the community. You have to service the parent as well. Mm-hmm. In today's economy, you have to service the grandma. That family has very unique needs. And if you can't reach the entire family, you're not going to reach the child. So, it really expanded from just, I want to serve children, to we need to look at a broader scope and service the entire community. And that's a strong communities is what helps children thrive.
Right. And so the community has to take a part in enriching and creating those leaders.
Exactly. And they can only do that if they're appropriately equipped.
That's right. And that's why those programs come in to enrich the leaders and create the leaders. And so that does encompasses all hands on deck approach, right?
Exactly.
That's what
we call it Wraparound Services.
Yeah, Wraparound Services. So tell us a little bit more about the Wraparound Services and securing funding for that, because it's not just a one piece of it. There's multiple pieces. No. Yeah. So tell us, unravel that.
Okay, so I refer to it as capacity building for nonprofits and churches, and I split that into 5 different components. So, we talk about organizational development, leadership development, program development, revenue development, and then community engagement. And until you can really have a clear, well-defined process for all 5 of those components, the organization is going to struggle. I've seen organizations where they've had some really great ideas for programming, but because they didn't have the organizational or the leadership piece in place, it impacted the organization, the program as a whole.
Yeah.
And then also, obviously, if you don't have the funding, so revenue development is key, and everyone wants to jump right into that. But I tell people it's a process, and the revenue is not the first thing you start on, because if you don't have the foundational things in place, then you're not going to get the money. You can write grants all day long, and a lot of times you'll do more damage than good if you're writing grants and you are not grant ready. So I spend most of my time working on organizational development for new nonprofits and churches, even some that's been around for 10 years. They've just been kind of hanging in there and just kind of coasting, or, I tell them all the time, you're floating. We want to get you swimming, and where you can actually take a deep dive and really make a difference and drive impact. And to get to that place, we've got to lay that foundation first so that there's something to stand on.
I find it a lot of executive directors, they're shocked when they realize they have to model some of the for-profit organization structure, the leadership structure, the organizational structure, because how else are you going to model it, to execute, to have order per se? So
right.
You can speak on that a little bit.
And even the funding side of it. I tell people all the time, you have to think like a for-profit in order to have a successful nonprofit. And they're like, well, that doesn't make sense because we're not a for-profit. But when you begin to think like a for-profit, it opens up your thought process as to where am I going to get this funding? Because a lot of times in social services, and my background, I didn't really talk about my education, but my associate's degree is in early childhood education. My bachelor's is in corporate communications. And then my master's, which I haven't quite finished yet, is in social work. So I'm kind of full circle with it. And, the social worker side of me wants to just do everything. Oh, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to give it all away. No one's going to have to pay for anything. That sounds really great until you start trying to do it. And you're trying to figure out how to operate a $200,000 program with $200. It just doesn't work, So you've got to get out there. And it's more than just asking people for money. People are really tired of that. And in the era of COVID, they just don't have it. People aren't tithing the same. So a lot of churches were closing their doors and trying to figure out what's next. Do we sell the building? How do we keep going? And even corporations, we had a lot of small businesses that had to close their doors. And so with that being said, it leaves nonprofits looking for where do we get our money now? And so they try to rely on grants. But if the large corporations have taken a loss because people aren't spending, they don't have as much to give.
Right.
So we've got to be creative with how we come up with money and even with how we do our fundraising, because we can't do large galas right now and, different things like that. So
how do we come up with the money?
Oh, yeah. So it's a matter of being very, like I said, extremely creative and trying to figure out. So what I do, I take a look at the individual organization and try to find something that is aligned with who they are, what they've been doing, and how that can generate revenue for them. So, for instance, a youth development organization, it was an early childhood center that had to close their doors. And they're like, there's nothing we can do. And they had a lot of the kids come back. But what they didn't get back were teachers. And you really can't operate a program without staff, right? Yeah. So they ended up having to close their doors. And they were like, that this is probably it for us. And I'm like, it's not it. There's a spinoff that you can do, which is actually what my nonprofit is doing right now, because I'm not one who just talks about it. I believe in being about it as well. So in addition to Mind Your Mission, I have a nonprofit that is operating with a $15 million budget. And so what we started doing was providing fresh and frozen food to families in need. And we have a USDA contract. So it's not a grant, it's actual, it's permanent funding.
Yeah.
And that funding will look different, obviously, because we will not be able to continue doing boxed meals for a week when COVID is over. None of us know when COVID is over. So we're going to take advantage of it while we have it.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we were doing hot meals, kind of like a soup kitchen for at-risk after-school programs. And so, like I said, it's a matter of taking a look at it and figuring out what is a spinoff so that I'm still aligned with my mission, but I'm able to secure funding so that we can keep going and remain relevant in the community.
Yes. And I love the title, Mind Your Mission.
Yes.
Mind your purpose, right? Mind your vision. Keep that in mind every day. That's when I hear that, that's what comes to mind. That it be
with everything.
Yeah.
We get so many, I've worked with an organization who, like I said, everybody wants to look for grants. And so what they were doing was after school programming. But a grant came out for $3 million for substance abuse counseling. And they were like, can you write this for us? And I said, oh, you guys do substance abuse counseling? And they were like, well, it's $3 million. Like, who would turn that down? Someone who does not do that. I mean, if someone put out a grant for $10 million to shine shoes, are you going to write that too? And they're like, yes, why wouldn't we? No, that's not who you are. That's not your mission. We don't chase money.
Right.
Stick with the mission. As long as you are mission driven, money will come.
I love that you said we don't chase money. Well, if you are chasing money, you know what happens? Resources are being wasted, right? So the time it takes to write a grant application, my husband just finished one and it took 3-4 months and it took a whole team of meeting every day to finalize the details of that. So when you allocate the time and the people, those are all resources that you're already scarce of to go after money that you don't stand a chance of getting.
Exactly. And then there's something where, if I've been doing early childhood education 0 to 5 and a grant comes out for after school 6 to 13, could I write that and say that still aligns with my mission? I'm expanding the scope. I'm servicing the siblings of the kids I have. There's a chance that I could get that grant. Good quality program if I have staff in place and things like that. But to just, like I said, to go from, we've got early childhood and now we want to do reentry program for ex-offenders. That doesn't go together. You can't even put them in the same building. You shouldn't be, no, we're not going to do that. Let's find some money that aligns with what you're doing. There's plenty out there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And so when you get together with an organization or the local churches, you focus on what they would be approved for before you even get the grant writing process going.
Right. So I teach them how to mission match. You really want to find organizations that have an interest in what you do already. I call it, it's like cold calling, where you're just reaching out to everybody. We don't have time for that. Like you said, time, money, people, these are all resources. And you already don't have any. So the little bit that you do have, let's use it wisely. And let's find, if you're, like for me, with my nonprofit, we are focused on hunger relief. So who would be concerned about hunger relief? Perhaps maybe grocery stores, maybe fast food places, dine-in. These are people who deal with food every day. So they may have an interest in that. Or, a private foundation, a family that came out of starvation or something like that. But, what I do is go on there. 990s are public record. So you can always check and see who a foundation is giving money to, because they have to report that. One organization that I worked with, they wrote a grant for $300,000. They had just got their 501c3. So they had no money, had never had a budget, never filed a tax return, but they wrote this $300,000 grant. And they wrote it for youth development, which is what they do. But when I pulled the 990, they only fund organizations in Ohio. Well, you're in Missouri. What made you write that? So these are the kind of things that I'm looking for when I pull the 990. Are they funding organizations right here where we are? Are they funding organizations that do what you do? And how closely related is that? Because if they are interested in early childhood education on a research level, if you're not doing research, if you're actually doing the labor and providing the service, then you shouldn't write that grant.
Right.
So, first let's find out who you are, who you service, and then let's go from there with trying to mission match and get some organizations that align with what you do.
Yeah. And then you come in, it sounds like you're saving them time and money as well, because you're going to, is it the directory now where you're doing your research, the 990? Is that what that?
Yeah, they can go to GuideStar for that. And any nonprofit 501c3, they're going to be listed in there. And those 990s are right there. And it's a free service. There are expanded services that you can get and things that you can see if you pay. But just the free program will get you in to be able to see what these people are doing and to take a look at those 990s.
That is powerful. And then you can get them back to focusing on the impact, the mission statement, writing that and focusing on who they serve. And I know something with the nonprofits is they have a hard time quantifying the work that they do. How do you help them overcome that obstacle?
Well, so first I tell them, let's not focus on grant writing yet, because if you don't have the data, it's not time. You don't have anything to put in a grant. So let's plan some programs based on who you are, what you do. And they're like, well, we don't have any money. We can get it funded. It doesn't take a grant for everything. And that's another thing that I teach. And I tell people, write this down. I'm going to give you this for free. The definition of money, according to Connie Bobo, money is anything that will solve a problem for you or someone else. So if I'm trying to do a computer lab, it's not necessarily that I need $30,000. What I need is 20 computers and 20 tables, or technically 10 tables and 20 computers, two at a table, so if someone is willing to donate that, take it, that's money that you don't have to spend cash. You can get all of your software for free through TechSoup, so things like that. So just being able to be resourceful. And I'm the queen of resources because I started my nonprofit with $27.
That's good to hear. The power, so you know what you're talking about. You're credible. You're credible.
Yes, I had to take a dose of my own medicine.
Yeah.
So, I'm living it.
The beauty of InKind donations too. InKind donation, people overlook those because they just think money, dollar signs. But InKind donations are money, and I love that.
Exactly.
You highlighted that piece of it for us. Thank you.
And there's definitely a value on that. So I tell people, don't waste any resource. That's powerful. So, with that being said, I kind of forgot the question now. I went off on a tangent, but yeah, so that's one of the things that we focus on is just making sure that I actually have them to do an inventory. give me a list of everything you need in order to effectively operate your organization or your ministry. And then we'll match that to resources. As many things as you can get without spending the money, we want to do that, and then reserve the money for those things that we have no other resource for. Gotcha.
And so we were talking about quantifying the impact.
Right. So with that, like I said, you've got to have something going on first. It's one of those things where you really can't sell clothes if you don't have anything displayed. People want to see, what does it look like on a mannequin, or how can I expect this to look on me?
Yeah.
And to even get them in the store, they need to be able to walk past and see something in the window, right? So let's give people something to look at. If you say that you're youth development, you specialize in education, you may not be able to do a licensed after school program, but you can tutor 5 kids.
Right.
Tutor them for 1 semester. You may not get paid. You can find people to volunteer. And then just make sure that you do a pre-test and a post-test so that you can show that, when I first started, this child was doing math on a 3rd grade level, and they're in the 9th grade. And after just 30 hours of tutoring, now we've got them operating, they're doing math on a 7th grade level. And that looks good. And so if you do that with 5 or 10 kids, however many you can start with, then you've got some hard data to show that you know what you're doing. You've got a curriculum in place, because all of this is going to be key. And so that's how you begin to start quantifying. And you've got to track everything. We have a tendency to just jump out there and start providing services. And then when I ask, well, did you even take a picture? They're like, no, we didn't think about that. Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Right.
Let me see that in action. When I go on your website, am I going to see some pictures that you bought off of Shutterstock, or, will you have some actual pictures of things that you have done?
Yeah. And taking those surveys, right? Being able to get the data from pre and post the program, that's impact. That's how you capture.
And testimonials or success stories, whatever we want to call them. Just ask the parent, ask the teacher, ask the child to just write a brief paragraph about their experience with your organization. That's powerful as well.
Well put. And what you're doing in your own organization, in your own nonprofit, and also helping the various nonprofit organizations and churches, it's powerful stuff. It's definitely needed, right? Because it goes overlooked. We go in there blindsided sometimes, and it's good to have someone like you who knows the ropes, who can actually steer us in the right direction. So with that, you are one powerful woman, Connie. So tell us, how do you stay that way? How do you sustain yourself? How do you get up, dress up, and show up to do what you do?
There's struggles there, but it's really a matter of finding balance. And before, I would say when I struggled the most, it was when I never took time for myself. So I've learned to be just a little bit more selfish. And that sounds really weird. And it sounds like it's working backwards. But when I was all about, I got to do this for everybody else, and I'll sit my stuff to the side, and never could get my hair done, never had time to go to the salon or the spa or anything. I was a mess. I was tired. And you get to the point where, I don't want to say that you do things grudgingly, but you kind of feel like, when is it going to be my turn? And so I had to shift everything and say, okay, I'm going to take at least 1 day a week that's strictly for me.
Right.
I'm not going to answer the phone, and that's the day. I don't care if I'm just doing laundry. If it's my laundry, I feel like I'm doing something for me.
Right.
I try to get up earlier now. So before, I would try to get up around 6 and try to get started, get in a couple hours before the phone starts ringing off the hook, So now I get up around 4:30.
Wow.
I try to get in 30 minutes at the boxing gym, or if I can't make it to the boxing gym, I'm at home trying to do something, maybe just arm-ups or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do some reading and journaling, and just try to have at least an hour to start my day off. That's mine, where I get to just have a mental release. And that is so powerful. And I found that the more selfish I have become with making sure that I get mine in, the better I'm able to show up for everybody else.
Yeah.
And I can quantify that because when I was just racing, doing for everybody else, we were servicing about 426 kids every day. And I thought that was amazing. I was, excited about that. And I don't discredit that at all. I don't despise small beginnings at all. But ever since I've been selfish, we are servicing over 9,000 kids every day, making sure that they get fed. The budget has grown. We went from about $300,000 a year to, like I said, we're $14-15 million a year now in revenue. So, when you can take that time for yourself, it really helps you to be able to show up for others more fully.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Amazing.
When you grow, your business grows.
Yes, absolutely. Isn't it funny how that works?
That's what you just exemplify. You did the mental work. You put the time out so you can address and be able to think clearly, get a day off to kind of de-escalate. And then you are waking up at 4:30, from 6 to 4:30. That's a full hour and a half, 2 hours to yourself to prepare before you show up to the rest of the world so you can be better at what you do. And that's the power of self-care. That's the power of a morning routine. You do it for you, but you also do it so you can see the results in the people you engage with in your business.
Yes.
It's powerful. It's powerful. I really am so happy you were able to share that with us today. When you grow, your business grows. That's it right there. Those numbers.
I love it. I've got to write that down. Yes.
Those numbers. So I really am thankful and grateful that you are here and you came on the show today. So for everyone who's listening, they're wondering, okay, who is Connie? How do we get in contact with Connie? Where can we find Connie? Please tell us.
Absolutely. So I'm on Facebook. I have a personal page as well as the nonprofit has a page, and Mind Your Mission has a page as well. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Those are the only two that I really keep up with, and LinkedIn. I'm definitely on LinkedIn, and I check those every day. Mm-hmm. Also, feel free to email me. I have my websites are available, so anyone can go on there and request a free 1-hour consultation. And I sit with them, and just what I like to do is I have a questionnaire that they complete first. Yeah. And it's 10 questions, just trying to give me a really good understanding of who they are, what they're doing, where their struggles are. And that way, when I come to the call, then I'm already coming with resources and ways that I could step in and help so that call is very impactful for them, even if they don't choose to retain me as a coach or a consultant.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And you're doing the work as well. You're teaching it. You're in it yourself. You're raising money for your own organization. What is it? What's one support that you need and you foresee that other entrepreneurs need post-COVID?
I would say, if I had to only give one, I would say networking is the most powerful, because we cannot be everything. We're not a know-all, end-all. Even 20 years in this industry and multiple degrees, I don't have all the answers, but when it's something that I don't have an answer to, I have enough people in my network that I can turn to. And even if they don't have the answer, someone always knows where to go to find it. Mm-hmm. And so that's more important to me than money or anything else, because I can give you a list of 50 grants to go after, or tell you who's giving out free computers and who's donating office space, but nothing compares to just having resources right there every time you need them. And then a lot of time in COVID, we need someone to talk to, because it's easy to go crazy or have cabin fever, or, it's just COVID has really changed a lot of things, especially in terms of socially, where we used to be able to have Chamber of Commerce meetings and 300 people in a room, where we're just not able to do that anymore.
Yeah, it's changed the way we do business as well. And I love that you brought on the networking piece of it. That is crucial. That is important. And it's the power of people. In Haiti, I'm from Haiti. Togetherness. Yeah. I'm from Haiti, and on our flag, it says, L'union fait la force. There's strength in unity. There's power in more than one. And so I love that. That's the piece you want to leave us with. It's not, even for nonprofit organization, it's not just about money. It's about the network that you build, because you are also the worth of your network.
Exactly. Yeah. And in nonprofit, no one organization does it all. So you have to find someone who can complement what you do, because that's so crucial, because then you can collaborate on a grant, and that looks really powerful to funders as well. So, do we want to give $1 million to Connie Bobo, who's saying she's going to service 100 kids? Or would we give it to this collaboration of 6 organizations that can service 5,000 kids?
Yeah, right.
So it's definitely important to connect with some other people in your industry. They don't have to be doing the exact same thing. Maybe one person is doing reentry, another person is doing substance abuse counseling, someone else is doing relationship development, and they can help these ex-offenders be able to be integrated back into their families and start rebuilding relationships with their kids, whoever they left behind. So, there's power and networking and collaborating with other organizations.
Well put. I really, really enjoyed it. You coming on and sharing with us today, Connie. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this time.
Awesome.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,